India is a country that has a history full of the rise and fall of many kingdoms and empires. In the world, India is seen as the home to one of the oldest civilizations. The heart of a country, Delhi, also known as Delhi, is considered one of the most important historical cities as it includes ancient tombs, temples, forts, which gives us the feel of a royal era. As time passed, Delhi became more developed, but in the journey of modernization and development, we might have lost our past. The archaeological park situated in Mehrauli in New Delhi is one of the tremendous areas which are a World Heritage Site, which time-ravaged monuments from the 10th century to the British era. The park consists of monuments like the Jamali Kamali Mosque, the Rajan Ki Bauli and the tomb of Sufi poet Jamali and more. In the between of the mosque of Jamali, there are two baulis which makes the mosque more charmistic. Three beautiful ponds were built around 10 to 15 years back in the Mehrauli Park, which itself enhances the beauty of the park. But today, the condition of the three ponds is the worst. It has been disgraceful to see that people are littering around the pond and the nearby area. This is not only shameful, but disheartening to see the disgrace towards such beautiful memorial. EPSS, Environment Perpetuity Solutions and Services Private Limited, is a company providing comprehensive solutions to industry and government bodies in areas such as environment, sustainability, sanitation, aquaculture, agriculture, solid waste management, water management, etc. Intending to provide unequaled sustainable development services to clients worldwide with a high degree of consistent professional level, to be a peerless environmental consultant across the globe, to be the first desire of every environment professional to work, and also to be the most innovative, dynamic, exciting and exalting impact on this industry with the best technical and financial performance. By fulfilling its duty towards nature and society, the EPSS company has decided to take the initiative in cleaning the entire area, including the three ponds. They have cleared the jungle by mowing the grass. They have cleaned the garbage or organic matter from the nearby area and from inside the pond.
Hello, my name is Jasper. I'm the Chief Scientific Officer of EPSS, Environmental's Perpetuity Solutions and Services, and welcome to Mehrauli Archaeological Park. Here, the water was really dirty, so we've been tasked by the Delhi Development Authority to clean the water. Right now, we're treating this lake to make the water quality much better, and we're going to do that by showing you several ways of treatment. First of all, we're manually dredging out all inorganic pollutants, all solid contaminants. Second intervention that we've done is we've built a big cage around the inlets of the water to continue filtering all inorganic waste. The third intervention that we're doing is going to be floating wetlands that will remove nutrients and pollutants from the water. And finally, as a fourth intervention, we're using bacterial dosing to further treat, clarify, and clean the water. Behind me, one of our guys is actually dosing the lake with microbes now. What are microbes? Microbes are microscopically small organisms that also need nutrients to grow, kind of like what the plants are doing. As these microbes are growing, they use up the nutrients and thus clean the lake. What does happen then? The lake becomes clearer, less smellier, less polluted, and of a better quality. Why are we using this apparatus to mist them? We're doing that to disperse them as efficiently and as wide as possible over the entire lake. By misting them, the bacteria are sprayed out and diffused in an optimum manner to ensure that they get everywhere in the lake and clean the entire lake. So this is the metal grate that we've built, and it works as a filter. Water runs through it runs through the holes, and inorganic pollutants get stuck in these holes. All we have to do is take these inorganic pollutants out, things that I have at my feet, such as chips bags, water bottles, and other things, just to keep the lake clean and nice.
Looking at the condition of the pond, it leads to breeding of mosquitoes, which ultimately leads to diseases like dengue and malaria. Especially in the current situation where COVID-19 has become the worst nightmare for the entire world, diseases like these can just make the situation more worse.
सेकंड बाद ही करूंगा वो मैं कुछ करूंगा नहीं।
The company has installed floating wetlands. These are small artificial platforms that allow aquatic emergent plants to grow in water that is typically too deep for them. Their roots spread through the floating wetlands and down into water, creating dense column of roots with lots of surface area. The plants take up nutrients and contaminants themselves and also provide extensive surface area for microbes to grow and to form a slimy layer of biofilm, where most nutrients uptake and degradation occur in a wetland system. This will also help in reduction and growth of algae and the bad odor coming from the pond. Not only this, but furthermore, it will also make the water cleaner and will improve the grade of water.
As we've just seen from the gate, there's a constant influx of water. That means there's also a constant influx of nutrients into the lake water. This means that we constantly need to treat the water to keep the lake clean and nice. We will be doing that by using our floating wetlands that you see here behind me. These floating wetlands are small one-by-one islands that will be placed in and around the lake with plants in them. These plants are macrophytes, a species of reed known as Canna indica that will have their roots inside the water. They constantly grow and use the nutrients for their own growth, thereby treating and cleaning the lake. As they grow and grow too large, we might need to cut them sometimes as maintenance to continue to tease them so that they continue to keep on growing.
The birds inhabiting near the pond just make you feel more connected to the nature. Peacocks carrying their vibrant colors and dancing with the every tune of sprinkle falling on them. The sounds of birds chirping and the singing in the nearby area gives us immense pleasure and a peaceful experience. The beautiful trees near the pond just provide the shade we need during those scorching summers. The entire area is covered with forest, which also slays down the charm. The rampant issue of the environment cursing day by day led to the repulsion of tourists and people to visit there. So let's take a pledge to not litter, to not throw garbage, and to save our beautiful and historical places together.